Good morning. Good morning. This is Felix Garcia, also known as the Finance Pastor. I hope everybody is doing great today. What a day it has been already in the stock market with the Dow Jones down over 300 points. The bromance between Elon Musk and Donald Trump has seemed to hit another hard place. And is it repairable? I think it will be, but this does not look good for many of the investors of Tesla, where there's a lot of concern. I'm an investor in the Tesla stock, so I'm always looking at what is the outcome. Is he too involved? But if you understand politics, and it is true what they say, then there's a lot of business owners that might not say publicly what they feel about politics, but a lot of them are involved in politics. So you have to look at that. If you're part of a country club, if you're part of any type of societal group or anything of that sort, that has to do with the movement of politics in the United States. Everybody has an opinion. And like most opinions, everybody's got is like an armpit, and an opinion is like an armpit. Everyone has two and they both stink. So you have to look at it with a grain of salt. So you start looking at what the stock market is doing right now. What are the things that are driving the market? You have a lot of expectations from Delta Airlines that is reporting later in the week, and that really kicks off the start of the travel season on other companies. Like you look at Carnival, Royal Caribbean, American Airlines, all these other Southwest, all these other individual airlines really tell us what is the start of the season doing. Is there going to be more travel? Are there more people traveling? Now, being a Delta million miler, I fly a lot. So I get to see a lot of the movements in the airport. I fly a lot for conferences that I do, and I'm always speaking somewhere. So I look at what the travel movement, and there's packed planes. There's hardly sometimes not enough seating where they're overbooking a lot of these flights, and there's always offering people more money to take a later flight. I see a lot of that. But are we back to pre-COVID flight times? And the answer is no. Knowing how much I used to fly, even pre-COVID, it was just more available flights, and you don't see that as much. And the choices are really crappy. So you start looking at what is Delta doing, what is other airlines doing, and you start seeing that it's a telltale sign of where the economy is moving. If people feel happy about where the airlines or the industry is moving, you could start seeing a big move in a lot of the transportation companies. Also, you start looking at Royal Caribbean, which has been on a tear over the last several months and even the last year and a half. It has really just exploded. It's a great company, and you kind of missed the movement there, just took off, especially towards the end of last year. So if you have missed that move, there's still opportunities. Is the stock market poised for a downturn? That's yet to be seen. The stock market is taking a breather from its all-time highs. But what is driving the market? You start seeing that, you start looking at tariff talk. A lot of these companies, and I think President Trump just announced that he's going to move some of those tariffs to August. So signifying to me, that tells me that a lot of these tariffs, that there's countries that are willing to work. And if there is good faith, if there is type of movement in the stock market, that these countries are actually working with the US government to actually have a great agreement on a trade agreement, and there's good faith there, well, why not extend it? Why not give these countries a chance, especially if they're working in good faith? I'm under the impression that that's what's happening right now. If he is extending, that there's many countries that are working. Trump doesn't play. Let's put it that way. These countries know that he doesn't play. So if I'm gonna take this man at his word, he has been right. Even when many people have criticized President Trump, he has been right. And you have to look at his trajectory. You got to look at what he has done. And technically, he's been right on everything. There are many people in his party that have disagreed, but if you look at the facts, he's been right on everything. And sometimes you have to look at a leader like him. He's an uncommon leader in our generation. He's one of those leaders that our grandkids are going to be reading about later in future generations about what a great leader he was and is. And we are lucky enough to have like a Abraham Lincoln, like a Thomas Jefferson, like a George Washington in our present time. And President Trump is that for this economy. Many people are in agreement with me and many people are not. And that's okay wherever you fit in the spectrum. And many people just, you have to look at what's happening now with the passage of the big, beautiful bill. The big, beautiful bill is a phenomenal thing for the working class. You start looking for the people who work in construction. You have your civil service workers, your policemen, your firefighters, your emergency medical technicians, where some of these jobs that are being created because of the AI boom, because of a lot of the work that's coming into the United States from foreign countries, they're giving an incentive for people to go back to work. If you consider this, Trump has figured out how to give the American people a pay raise without making the business owners pay for it. How is he doing it? Through tariffs and by not taxing overtime. I believe that you're going to start seeing a season where many people are just going to go back to work, just like pre-COVID, where people are going to just be hustling, paying off debt, taking care of their households, moving their families forward, because you start looking at, if you're making time and a half, or if you're working on a Sunday, I used to work for the union, it used to be time and 3/4. That's a huge income boost into your personal household. And not being taxed is a phenomenal bonus where you're going to start seeing many people that are going to be paying off debt, paying off credit cards, just like the United States is going to start getting trim and healthy financially and fiscally. I think many Americans are going to go back into just setting their house in order. And I've learned that you need to set your house in order. And doing that is by taking care of your bills, paying off your debts, having life insurance, having investments, investing in the stock market, investing in real estate, investing in many, many things that can move your family forward. And right now, with everything that's happening in the horizon, you should be buying stocks. You should be buying stocks. Think of companies of what you love. Many of you start considering the car you drive, the products you enjoy, what's in your home. Many of you start seeing companies like Procter and Gamble, Johnson and Johnson, Toyota, Ford, GM, Stellantis, Tesla. You start looking at Lucid and many other Vivian, other car companies. Then you start looking at what you love. Lululemon, Kmart, well, not Kmart, Walmart. You start looking at Costco, you start looking at companies like that, and you start seeing that you know more about the economy than you give yourself credit for. Some of you here have gifts that you can teach me, that I could sit under your feet and learn. Many of you understand industries or sectors in the economy that you can already invest in things that you love, whether it's that NVIDIA, whether you a gamer, you love Twitch, you love Roblox, you love Grand Theft Auto, you love Call of Duty. These things are publicly traded companies. From GameStop, which has been famous. Thank you, Rory and Kitty. It's been made famous because of you. Now you start looking at other sectors, from futures and oil. If you're a farmer in the middle of the country, in the Midwest, and you're a farmer, you start looking at futures, you start looking at wheat, you start looking at soybeans, you start looking at oil, energy, and you start looking at what the economy is doing, whether it's through nuclear power. You start to look at Constellation, you start looking at Peabody, you start looking at ExxonMobil, you start looking at all these companies where you can invest your hard-earned dollars on companies and let it grow throughout the next generation. See, the Bible talks about leaving an inheritance to your children's children. And that's what's biblical about this, is you to leave an inheritance to your children's children. Now, one of the things you can do is that there's no overnight money in the stock market. There's no overnight money in the real estate game. Everything is, you can't avoid the process. That's one of the things that many people want to avoid. They want to avoid the process. You cannot avoid the process if you want to reach your apex. What is your apex? Everyone has a different financial gain, but you have to understand that if you learn, if you apply yourself, if you study and show thyself approved, you could start seeing that you start making seeds. You start planting your seeds, and through time, through seasons of learning, losing, making money, learning the processing, learning from your failures, and like John Maxwell said, failing forward. That's the key to success. Every successful person that I've ever encountered, I've had the privilege of having a conversation with, they've all said the same thing. The only reason that they succeeded is because they were willing to fail. Are you willing to fail? There's a statistic that says that 9 out of 10 businesses fail. Well, that's a true statistic. And for many people, that stops them. But all that tells me is that if 9 out of 10 businesses fail, I just got to start 10. It's about mindset. See, if you put your mind to something, you can achieve things that you never thought that were possible. You see, I have a little girl. She's going to be 10, but I have told her something every single day since the day she was born. I've told her, you are a gift from God. You are smart. You are beautiful. You're a leader. You're powerful. You're creative. You're courageous. You're a problem solver. You're the head and not the tail. You're going above and not beneath. And when you grow up, you will do things that others can only dream or imagine. And it's an honor to be called your father. And I love you. I've told her that probably over 2,000 times. And the thing is, the reason why I speak into her is because I need to build her self-esteem. The world out there, they want to give you labels. The world out there, they want to tell you who you are or what they want you to be, because they want you to fill in the mold that they perceive you to be in. But when you know you're made for greatness, when you know you're made for more, you start seeing that as you start building up your mind, and you start letting your hands do the work, which is tilling the land. If you're a real estate investor, whether it's making the phone calls, there's doing driving for dollars, which is just flipping houses, finding investors, finding for deals, going to auctions, going and working with wholesalers in your area, whatever that may be. Or maybe you a person that loves the stock market like me, which does real estate and stock market, and you start looking at how can I understand buying good stock? What's a PE ratio? What are options? What are futures? How can I use that to make money in the stock market? You start seeing that if you have a 1 to 3 year plan, a 1 to 5 year plan, plus a 1 to 20 year plan, you'll start seeing that as you work towards your goal, you'll see in 3 or 4 years the progress that you have made. And just like Warren Buffett has shown us, someone that we could look and say, okay, I see his method. It's about compounding interest. That's the name of the game, is compounding interest. And as you start looking towards learning those things and having the long-term game, because there is no overnight money. One of the things that I've disliked about many preachers that have made it seem that if you just give money, God's just going to give you money. Those are half truths. That's not what God intended. Does God want you to give? Yes. Does God want you to pay your tithe? Yes. But he also wants you to work. By the sweat of your brow, you'll eat bread. See, many people think that that's punishment for the banishment of Adam in the Garden of Eden. No, the punishment for Adam was the banishment from the Garden of Eden. But he told and gave mercy to Adam and said, but you know what? I read the scripture this way. Adam, you no longer could be in the Garden of Eden. Now, if you work the land and you till the land, by the sweat of your brow, you'll eat bread. What does that mean? By your hustle, by the work, by your employer. Now, some of you here are entrepreneurs in the making. Some of you are already entrepreneurs, and others, you are looking for that side hustle where you want to make an impact, whether it's in your community, whether it's in your family, whatever that is. But you start looking at real estate, you start looking at stock market or a side business or MLM, whatever it may be. You start seeing that you work and you till the land. You go through the process. You have to go through the process. Without process, there is no your end destination. There is no harvest. There is no goal. You have to go through the process in order to get victory in what you deem, what you've already put in your mind is where you want to get to that place you call there. Have you ever seen yourself in a place you call there? Well, financially, I've taught myself, like, when I flip like 10 houses, I think I've called my place called there. Then when you do it, you think is not enough, and then your goals start getting bigger. You start doing that with age. I thought when I was 16, I thought by the time I was 18, I would be so excited to leave my house because I was old enough. But then when you get to 18, you start paying bills. You start looking at, oh, gee, I'd rather be living in my parents' house. We all have a place that we call there. What is that place called there for you? So you start looking at all those things. And as we learn about the stock market, and we're going to look at some charts now, and we start seeing what the stock market has done in the last day. Tesla has been just really been assaulted today. Just $22. You have a lot of the tariff talk. I'm going to share my screen with you guys. Let's go there. See, that's what happens when you get older. Your eyes are not the same. So we start looking at this chart right here, and I have it on my, let me go on my, I have a separate screen up here, but Tesla right now is down. It's off its lows. You start seeing that there's a huge demand for this stock at that 290, that 295, that $300 range. So I'm seeing a kickback up every time this stock hits this area. Now, this is the important thing about this stock right here. Even though it's here, I'm thinking that this stock could fall into this range if he keeps talking. This 269, this 270, this 275 range, because this stock can fall a little more. There is a gap. Now it has filled it. The one thing I'm concerned about, and let me get this out, is this gap right here. I wonder if it's going to go past this, because if you look at it, it just touched it. But these gaps is where I'm guessing where it could fall if he continues to talk crazy, if he continues to act up, if he continues to just talk nonsense. I'm thinking that this could fall. So this is my first leg would be around this 270 to 269 range ish. And then if he keeps talking gibberish, I'm looking at 219. At 219, I'm definitely going to load up more. My dollar cost average on this stock right now is 162. It might change once I load up a little more, but right now is on option play. Like, I'm really not in this, but I'm also looking at other stocks here to diversify. I'm in the Qs. So the Qs, let's go to Nvidia. Let's go through these stocks here. Nvidia right now has had a beautiful run. I'm glad I switched up to Nvidia when Elon Musk started talking nonsense. I've switched a lot of my stuff here. I wanted to add to my position, but it is at an all-time high. Now, this is as an investor, is this stock going to go higher? Perhaps. Could this stock keep going up? Perhaps. So what is the answer? The answer is I don't know. I really don't know. It really depends. I'm looking for this stock to continue to go higher. Now that's my bullish play, but I'm also want to buy things at a discount. Now, all-time highs doesn't really interest me that much, only because of, you're buying at all-time highs. Now, for stock, you have to consider stock is almost just like real estate. You want in the stock market or in life, I always want to buy things at a discount. I want to buy a Louis Vuitton purse, but I want to pay a TJ Maxx price for it. Now, if you're a real estate investor and you're watching me and you wonder, well, how can I use the same approach that I have to real estate to the stock market? Well, it's simple. You look at real estate, and I look at real estate in neighborhoods or zip codes or areas. You look at many neighborhoods in a city, you can break down to the rich neighborhood, to the industrial area, to the middle class area, and to the hood. I mean, that's very easy to do that. in the stock market now, in the United States, you probably have over several thousands of counties. I don't know the number exactly right now, but you have to look at the hundreds of thousands of neighborhoods in the United States. Well, in the stock market, you don't have hundreds of thousands of neighborhoods. You got roughly about anywhere from 14 and 19,000 stocks. And you start looking at, if you break them down into sectors, which is you have your energy, you have your oil and gas, you have your wheat, you have your soybeans, you have your coffee, you have your chocolate, you have your cocoa, you have industrial metals, you have silver, gold, palladium, nickel. You start seeing it, you start breaking it down. When you look at real estate and you look at it as neighborhoods, you start looking at stocks like, is this a good stock to buy? And am I buying it at a discounted price? Just because a neighborhood is a good neighborhood doesn't mean you should be paying full price for it. So when I look at stocks that are maybe at all-time highs, is think of it as you're buying a house that it's the top of the market for right now. Now, if you're a long-term investor, that's the key. If you're a long-term investor, then you start looking at it. Okay, even if I bought it at an all-time high, I'm buying it for what is going to be in 5 years. That's a difference. That is a difference. If you're buying for that type of investing, keep buying. But if you're looking for short-term cash, short-term, I want to be here 2 to 3 weeks, 2 to 3 months, 4, 5, 6 months, then now is you shouldn't be buying at all-time highs. That's where you can see a retracement in stocks. So there's a balance on how do you buy stocks? How do you do that? What do you do to purchase these stocks? So let's keep looking. I'm going to keep sharing my screen and look at a couple of other stocks here. So Nvidia is at all-time highs. I'm looking at this stock as a place of just, it's a great place to park their money. Once the investments of Nvidia or companies like Nvidia starts coming in, whether are companies from the around the globe that are now able to purchase their chips, plus the other companies in Silicon Valley that are buying their GPUs. Remember, they have a backlog. And that's a good problem in business where you have too much business. There's different problems in business. Too much money and not enough. I want too much money. And Nvidia has a too much money, at least in the coffers or in invoices, that they have a great problem. Nvidia, I love this one. Let's look at I'm gonna go through my list of Qs. Let's go through the Qs. Qs are down. I'm on an options play, but I've already done well on this one. If I take it out, I'm not taking a loss. I make money, but I'm also like still want to ride this wave. But I'm also in later options in September. So maybe I might think about what the stock market does in the next couple of days, whether I make a decision. But I love the Qs. I've switched to the Qs instead of investing all in on Tesla. And also I've moved my money to Nvidia. And I've also added Coca-Cola last week to my investing. Jets ETF is down a little bit, but like I said, many of you who've been following me, like if you look at what we've talked about here, nice run, it went back down and it's going to do that nice run. This stock right here, if Delta does well and you start seeing a bump in the other transportation, you're going to see this stock potentially go to like 27-ish. So this is not like a huge moving stock. But what it is if you have a smaller portfolio, let's say you're starting out with $2,000 to $3,000, this is feasible with 100 stocks. Making something like that, you're making almost like a two like about a 5 to 8% return in a couple of weeks. That's not bad. It's about investing. It's about habit. It's not about how much money. It's about habit. Royal Caribbean, another stock that has taken off, taking a breather, all-time highs. Is just Royal Caribbean has just done so well. People were making fun of me when I was saying around the $175 mark that this was a $250 stock. If you look at my records, you look at my channel from November of last year, even January of this year, I was saying this was a 250 stock. It has surpassed what I even thought. This one, you're kind of now buying at a higher PE ratio. When it was at the $200 range is when you really had a nice PE ratio if you were still looking for a value stock. We've already talked about Amazon, Nvidia. Let's look at Amazon. Amazon taking a breather. Jeff Bezos, Lauren Sanchez. Congratulations on a beautiful wedding. You guys looked really great, and I guess they want me to upgrade now, but no. You guys look phenomenally well in your wedding pictures. Hope you much success. Your stock is taking a little, actually, still a little positive today. Okay. It's holding up. It's holding up. If we start seeing a movement downturn in the market, I can see Amazon potentially falling into the 195 range to fill this gap right here. But Amazon's a solid stock. I like what Jeff Bezos is doing. I also like his partnership with Rivian. It's one that I'm kind of looking at. AMD. I'm looking at this one. I'm liking that it dropped because I want to get in to this stock. Only because it has broken this range. Because it has been tailing and it's broken this range. And several weeks ago, I said if it broke this range, I'm looking to get in. AMD, another one that if you're buying in that 134, I'm wanting it to come down in that 129 range. But if it does fall down, I'm looking for it to go back up. If it goes back up, I'm looking more in the, let's see, I think in the 180 range, which is, let's go right over here, 190, 180 range in this vicinity right here. 185 would be my high if it goes back up to its previous high. So, like again, what I mentioned, you want to buy a Louis Vuitton purse at a TJ Maxx price. In my opinion, AMD is at a TJ Maxx price right now, even with the run that it's had, but it has had to do the run in order for it to get confirmation. It's easy to say woulda, coulda, shoulda, but it is impossible to predict every single move. It's literally impossible unless you're Jesus. Ford has had a nice little run, but Ford also has been known. Let me see if I could get a better angle on. There we go. Ford has had a range where it has been for probably about a year and a half, probably in 21 to right here, 22, that 22 to 24. It had a run where it was just going from 11 to 15, 11 to 15, and it's dwindled down now. But it could it break? It needs to break these highs in order for me to be bullish on this stock. I own Ford. It's a nominal dividend, very nominal. I mean, it's just if it wasn't because I drive the truck and I still think this stock is undervalued, I mean, it really would not be one that I want to have too long term, but I'm gonna ride the wave in order because I bought it at a decent price. But I'm still looking for this to go in the $24 range. That's what I'm thinking about more of this stock here. SPY ETF. Let's look at this. Kind of following the S&P, just down, kind of following the Qs, same thing. Meta's climbing. I think this is going to be $1,000 stock. I would not be shocked if it goes to $1,000 and it does a split, probably like a 3-for-1. I wouldn't be shocked. But also, I really think that Mark Zuckerberg is a sleeper in the AI boom. I really do think that. I think his partnership with Constellation, Constellation is going to be very pivotal for powering in the AI movement. My generation, my older people still use Facebook. The younger ones, they still use Instagram. You got international people that use WhatsApp. But also, I believe that Mark Zuckerberg is going to make Facebook into the mall of the future. I really do believe that. I might not agree with everything he says, but I really love his business acumen. He's a savvy businessman, and I really do respect what he's doing. Might not agree with everything, but definitely you can respect someone, especially when he's just kicking tail. So you got to respect that from him. The diamonds ETF here, the Dow Jones is getting crushed today, so not terribly surprised that this one's down, but still this stock has been following an uptrend. I still like the diamonds. The Russell again down 22 points. It keeps hitting this range. We've been hitting this range. So this 220, this two right here, this range here, we have been in this range here, the 1700, 2300, 2400 range for the last 4 years. So if you have been a trader on the Russell and you're doing credit spreads, you have seen that there have been a lot of differences and changes in this stock. But hopefully, we start seeing the movements into a right direction. Now, this is the key: 40% of the stocks in the Russell 2000 don't make any money. Most of those stocks really are still in business because they're able to borrow their way into solvency. So interest rates really play a crucial place in this type of stock right here. If rates go down, expect the Russell 2000 to shoot up, because now it is going to be cheaper money for these companies that are struggling and fledgling, and it'll be that they could stay in business a little longer. We've Russell 2000, Tesla, we've already talked about the bromance. Stock is, like I said, is bounced off that 290. There's a lot of buying pressure from that range. Let's see what happens. Palantir, you're doing well. I'm in Palantir, so I wasn't expecting that. I was hoping it was going to fall too, so I can add more to my position. NASDAQ futures down, of course. Coca-Cola, I've added to my position. Is it down today? Yep. If it could go down another dollar 30 or something, I'll be wanting to load up in the $69 range, $68 range. But that's kind of what the stock market is doing. Any news? Let's look at news. Let's do CNBC. Refresh this. Dow down 300 points. Same thing. A bit 35. Still, the S&P still above the 6,000 range, which is always good. I mean, it's had a nice year run. Tesla shares dropped 7%. Musk says he's launching a political party, which he's stupid. But this is the thing that I wonder about this. Now, they say that, but sometimes I wonder if this stock is intentionally manipulated. This is what I mean. Sometimes these two are showmen. Make no mistake, President Trump and Elon Musk, they both showmen. You got to understand that. They're both showman people. Now, my thing is, are they purposely having this fight so they could drop the stock down so they can buy too? And that's what I wonder. I think about that stuff. It's the New York in me. And I'll be wondering, is this all an act? So he could drive shares down so other people can buy the stock, like members of Congress, which they do, or you have other type of AI bots that predict when members of Congress are buying stock. The only thing that I don't like about those is that the members of Congress, yeah, you can know what they trade. That is facts. That's true. But usually you're 6 months late because they have 180 days to report it. So it's not like you're getting fresh off the presses type of information. This stuff is like 6 months late. So sometimes you have to kind of look at institutional buying. Who's buying here? Who's buying there? Yahoo Finance, let's look at this. We kind of talked about this, the July tariff threat. Tesla stock sinks. Everyone's talking about the same thing. BRICS warns of extra 10% tariff over anti-American. I'm glad that Trump is defending the United States. You have to respect that. You have to respect that. We're being respected over the nation. Not really. Bloomberg, I'm pretty sure same stuff. So Trump sets the August 1st tariff. Like I mentioned earlier, to me, that's just, hey, a way to just give people, if they were working in good faith, to me, is just a way where you can kind of still in good faith, just still work a deal by extending it as you hash out any final details. Also, I really want to mention this. I mean, my hearts and prayers are for the people in Texas, the flood. I have a little girl, and I couldn't imagine what the parents of these kids are going through. My heartfelt condolences. May God's peace just really surround you, and I'm praying for you. Really am. I could not imagine what the pain and suffering that you're going through for the people who have lost everything. My prayers are with you. I'm pretty sure there's going to be organizations where people can give. I'm going to do that for my family, but also, man, my heart goes out to you. We are thinking about you. We are thankful that you have a great governor, Governor Abbott. There's help on the way from the federal resources, from what has been put out in the news. And I just pray with you. I mourn with you. I weep with you, and just believing that God's hand is on you. And I just want to let you guys know that we really praying for you, and believing God to really touch you and really comfort you in your this time of need. And so I look forward to speaking to each one of you. Leave me some comments. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, do that now. The Finance Pastor Felix Garcia, aka the Finance Pastor. Until next time.